Changes in the air at Jurong Bird Park after 52 years and over 41 million guests. The iconic site is closing its doors for good and marking the end of an era. But a new chapter opens for this flock of more than 3,500 birds and park staff as they begin their big move northeast to their new home. Marcus Tan takes us on their final flight on their last day in Jurong.
Yellow-naped Amazon parrot Amigo warmly welcomes the crowd for his last time headlining the High Flyers show. He and the rest of the birds at Pool's Amphitheatre and Hawk Arena wowed the four houses on the park's last day of operations at Jurong Hill. It's a big moment for the birds and their trainers.
It's actually very sad that we are moving away from our very first home and to Mandai, but I'm very excited to move to Mandai because of all the new facilities, the new and upgraded facilities that our birds will get for better welfare.
Jurong Bird Park has been singing its swan song since September 2022. In bidding farewell, the park invited guests to share their most precious memories and explore heritage trails around Singapore's oldest wildlife park.
I used to intern here 5 years back, so it was nice to look at all the places I've been through. And it's also a childhood place and not much has changed here.
It was amazing. I wish I could have come before so I could have come back today too. It was amazing.
Well, it's something about this area. It's very rustic and usually quiet. The gardens are beautiful and you can just spend a few moments just enjoying the quietness and the birds.
As the skies opened and guests started scrambling for cover, it served as a reminder of just how close to nature the park is. Jurong Bird Park gave visitors and its 3,500-strong flock portals to the world's biomes, from the frigid Antarctic to the jungles of the Amazon and Africa. And with the park's relocation to Mandai, this concept is set to endure, come rain or shine. Successor Bird Paradise is part of Mandai's rejuvenation project, featuring all-new walk-in aviaries nestled within the Central Catchment Nature Reserve. The park staff have already begun preparing the birds for the big day. Veteran and Vice President Daisy Ling welcomes the move with open wings.
Jurong Bird Park has been in operation for 52 years. We have gained much experience and knowledge in running the park. It is with great excitement that we are looking forward to move into the new park because it is for better for everyone.
This whole flock will fly northeast and will be nestled in their new homes when Bird Paradise opens in the second quarter of this year.
So how exactly will this big move to Mandai take shape and what's next for the wildlife park?
Well, for more, we are joined by Dr. Luis Neves. He's Vice President of Animal Care at Mandai Wildlife Group. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. We understand that there are these 100 steps or more that need to be taken to transfer each batch of birds to the new location. Tell us about this complex operation and the need for these measures.
Hi, thanks for having me. So something like this was never done before. So what we needed to do was to make sure that in order for everything to go well and for the birds to move from the new place quite safely, all the different processes from training the birds to go to the retrieval areas, also to things like labeling the crates or how to release the birds in the new aviaries, all of these things were broken down. And we decided what needed to happen for it to happen with maximum safety for the animals and also less stress. And at the same time, to see what was the risk to somehow mitigate to make sure that it happens as well.
Dr. Neves, when they moved to this new bird paradise in Mandai, you're going to have from 4 aviaries, you're going to have 8 aviaries. And each one, from what I read, is meant to replicate, simulate their natural habitat for each group of birds. Is it very difficult to design these habitats, not just so that they suit one bird, but for an entire ecosystem of birds? What are the challenges your team has faced?
When we looked into the new park and we looked into the population planning, so which birds we wanted to keep and why, we looked into what would be the best possible conditions to house them in much larger areas, and also what would be the compatible species. We want animals that come from the same biogeographical zone, but also that can coexist together. We cannot have birds that will be overly dominant or too submissive. So we needed to make sure that the species were well selected. And also at Jurong Bird Park, we started a while ago, not only to train the birds to come to areas where they can be easily put in the transport crates, but also having them be getting used to being in larger areas and also with the other species. So we tried as much as possible to make a combination now in Jurong so that the transition to the bird paradise is going to be much smoother.
So this conditioning process has been ongoing, but you want the birds to be able to adapt to their new environment, what will essentially be their new habitat having been relocated. What signs are you going to be looking for that will be able to measure that success? And what steps would you take if there are signs perhaps that the birds aren't coping so well?
So one of the things we did was also to decide which birds we could release directly, which is what we call a hard release. And these are the species which are a bit more resilient, more bold, and they will go straight from the transport crates to the new habitats. The ones which are a bit more delicate or a bit more shy will actually give them the opportunity to stay in intro areas first, so smaller areas inside the aviaries. And once we are comfortable with their being able to feed by themselves, to be able to come back to shelter, then they will go to the larger spaces, because the larger aviaries are for the most part much larger than the Jurong Bird Park ones, which is great for the birds, but we must also give them some time to adapt. So we want the birds to be able to find their food, to find their nesting places, their roosting places, and to make sure that in a larger environment, there's no dominant species that somehow makes the more shy ones less able to adapt.
Dr. Neves, an underlying theme in all of this that we've heard is, I quote your Chief Executive, Mandai Wildlife Group, saying animal welfare has to be at the center of everything that you do. Now, in this new facility, you will have many more updated facilities, modern, perhaps better technology to run this park. What in this new park brings you closer to embracing animal welfare that you did not have in your earlier park?
So animal welfare basically is the combination of all the experiences that the animals have in their environment. And there are always positive ones, negative ones. What we want is to have a positive balance so that the good ones outnumber the bad ones, so to speak. And in these new environments, which are much larger, these animals will be able to have, first of all, a larger space to fly around, to behave like natural birds would, and also to be able to find their specific roosting places, but also we'll be able to give them the ability to coexist with other species, because in the wild, no animal exists by themselves. And even though Jurong has large aviaries, these larger spaces actually allow them to be in a much more naturalistic setting. We selected the plants very carefully to really match the biogeographical zone. And then the fact that we'll be able to have more species combined together will actually allow them to have social enrichment as well. So their lives will be better enriched, not only because they have more space, but also because they'll have other species to kind of coexist and to interact with, like they would in the wild.
Well, thanks very much for joining us. That was Dr. Luis Neves, Vice President of Animal Care at Mandai Wildlife Group.